What's up, guys? It's March 3rd, 2014. Just want to go over some of the trades of today. We had an awesome session. Surprisingly, the market was down heavily today. We were down pretty significantly. We closed back up about a negative 153 points, so we were off lows of the day. We basically bounced off the 13 EMA and the 50-day moving average, but no surprise to see, some sellers come in here. We've been up significantly over the past basically the entire month of February has been straight up. It got a little choppy lately, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some pullback in March and see some sellers in. So today could be, just the beginning of some more selling pressure. It's really tough to say what's going to happen, but, it doesn't really matter what the market's doing. There's always going to be trade opportunities every day. And we killed it last week, and we got started nicely off this week with some good trades. So let's take a look at a couple of those. Let's first look up at MVIS. This is one that just absolutely exploded for us today. There's a couple different catalysts that helped us make money on this stock. First of all, this was off the watch list. This is one that I put on the watch list back when it was up here at about 246. This is one of my favorite patterns and strategies to play, which is what I call the 13 EMA bounce. Comboed with a red to green move right off of that 13 EMA level. I was definitely a little bit hesitant to go into MVIS because there is earnings out on Thursday, and it's kind of risky and tough to buy into a stock moving right up into earnings because people are kind of like skeptical about what the stock's going to be doing once we report earnings, as I never hold the stock through earnings because you really never know. They could totally miss the estimates. They could exceed the estimates. A lot of times it's either going to be a gap open or a gap down on the stock if they release earnings pre-market or after hours. So it's a very, very risky strategy to try to hold a stock through earnings, and leading into those earnings, they're typically, kind of stagnant. So I was a little bit hesitant, but I went in with a small position, just 5,000 shares today, right in here at about 195 or 196, I think my entry was here. And basically what I was looking at was, we were kind of had that morning panic sell-off below $2 per share. So we also had that whole number breakdown. A lot of people kind of panic and think that, it broke down the whole number. So it could be heading lower, but the catalyst there was also that the 13 EMA was right here, which is typically what I like to look for, is a stock that's made a huge major run up and actually comes all the way back down to the 13 EMA, and I like to see a red to green move. And I love TC2000 because it shows me that clear red to green neckline. As you can see here with this yellow line here, that's just automatically placed on this chart by default. It shows you the opening price. So basically a red to green move is when a stock opens up, drops below that opening price, and once it fires back into the green territory, as soon as this little percentage thing turns green, that's when it goes over this yellow line, and that could be a signal of the stock squeezing to the upside, especially off a support level, which was basically ripping back over the $2 whole number resistance. So that's a significant trigger right there. Also breaking over that yellow line, which was the red to green move. In addition to that, it was breaking back above the 13 EMA and bouncing off a very strong support level. So that's why I got into MVIS. I just went in a little bit smaller than usual because of the earnings out on Thursday. And then there wasn't necessarily a news PR released on, like, as you can see here. You can't see, I have my news feed right to the left here on TC2000, but it didn't necessarily have a news feed. But I guess there was some kind of news piece that came out with Apple and the in-dash car things. I didn't really look it up, but I know Doc was talking about it in chat, and I think Microvision had something to do with that. So that could definitely be a reason as why this exploded so heavily once this went red to green. So, a lot of times I'll go red to green and you won't see such a big move, but that we did find that trigger, and that's exactly why I bought this stock, was because of the red to green move based off of the 13 EMA support level. So from there, I got out very, very early. I sold half, I think, at 207, and then the rest at 220. And from here, this thing ripped all the way up to 250. So I'm very good at identifying these red to green 13 EMA bounce plays. What I suck at is, making a lot of money off them. I usually just take a very, very small scalp and get in and get out because I'm, not too comfortable with, what the stock's going to do after it. It's kind of hard for me to gauge what's going to happen after. But trading is all about just being able to identify those opportunities, and as long as you can get a piece of that pie, you're going to be winning and making money. And that's all trading is trying to identify the right patterns that can explode like this did right here, and at least catching at least some of this move. You're not going to make the perfect trade, but I identified the pattern and at least caught a little bit of this move here and made about 900 bucks off that trade. Actually, it was $857.34 to be exact. Another one was LIVE. This is one that we traded today. Actually traded last week here on the same exact pattern. This was the same exact pattern that LIVE made this huge run up right here, and I came back down here. We actually were pretty far below the 13 EMA, but it's a pretty volatile stock. But there was a red to green move right around the $7 area and just below the 13 EMA. So I figured that it could be, kind of a panic under the 13 EMA. The 13 EMA isn't a perfect signal. All you can do with any indicator is just use it kind of as a guide. You can't just totally rely on it. You have to kind of use instincts and kind of go with the flow of the chart as well, but use it to the best of your ability and kind of use it as a guide. But we did see a red to green move on LIVE yesterday that I actually purchased, I believe right around in the 735 area. And then it started flagging, continued to flag, and then it broke an F1 pattern right here at about 763, and it's absolutely ripped it up here. I made about 1,500 bucks. It was the same exact pattern, a stock that had made a major run up, came all the way back down to the 13 EMA area. In this point, it didn't just come right down to the 13 EMA; it actually dropped below it, and then broke out of the red to green, and then triggered an F1 right there at about 760. As you can see, that nice little triangle forming up here, and I made about 1,500 bucks very quickly, and then actually traded this thing again for a potential red to green move. As this thing was dropping back down, we're still right below the 13 EMA. I was predicting a potential red to green move here again. This is actually up to 825 after hours here, but I got long, I believe, about right here at about the 755, or I think it was 756 was my entry. But basically what I was looking at was kind of this revival pattern. You can see that this sold off early in the morning, but we kept spiking up here and peaking out in the 760-ish area and a breakout above that, and I was looking at a potential push towards the red to green move there. So you can see we kind of have this triangle formation, almost a revival pattern on the intraday scale if you look at it that way. And once it broke above that level, this thing ripped. I actually sold it right up here. I made $648. I got out right as it was right at this red to green move. A little sketched out in this thing. It's a very volatile stock, as you can see. And as soon as I sold, this came all the way back down towards my buy price, 761, and then exploded all the way up back into the 820s, and now it's 825 after hours. So like I said, I'm very good at spotting the red to green moves off the 13 EMA area. What I'm not good at is holding them for long enough to actually make a significant amount of money. But I still made a piece of the pie here and identified the pattern. Another one that has yet to move is DARA. I'm still long a few shares of this. I tried to rip this thing at about 294, I believe was my entry. Yeah, 294 is the entry, but the same exact thing here. It made that huge gap up on volume, came all the way back down to the 13 EMA. It's trying to bounce here around the 13 EMA level, and I was hoping to see this red to green move around 292, and then it started to break out of an F1 here this morning. Actually, I think I bought pre-break out of that F1, so I was looking at basically about right here, and so I bought at 294, hoping that it would break out highs and then see a continued rip and hopefully break past 3 and get a nice bounce off this 13 EMA on the daily chart. Unfortunately, it did not get that move there and actually came back down and closed around 292. So it's still early. This thing could still have a nice bounce potential, considering the market ate crap today and this still stabilized and actually closed break even, is a good sign that there's not a lot of sellers coming in. Not super surprising to go up because the market sentiment wasn't buying today, but there was a lot of buyers out there on some stocks today. But to see this stock not continue to drop and the market ate crap today is definitely a good sign. So if the market does bounce and we do see some buyers across the general market, it's much more likely that this stock would potentially see that red to green move and actually see a bounce here off of 13 EMA support. Continue on, PAL. This is another stock that we are currently in. I have 40,000 shares in the stock right now. It's up after hours to 47 cents. We did peak out at 49, but we got in here. This is actually off the watch list from last night. You know, looking at this stock on the daily chart previous today, you know, it would have been nice to actually get into this stock yesterday. But as you can see, this started creating this resistance level right here at about 39 cents. On the daily chart, we've been spiking out up at above that level, or at that level at 39 cents. Nice volume increasing. We're basically basing out, forming up this nice little triangle pattern that basically gives us a nice buy trigger there at about 39 cents if that level does break out. So as soon as this thing broke out this morning, we actually had a nice little spike out of the gates. It sold off here a bit, and then I got long at about 41 cents as we were potentially breaking out of this F1 here, right at 41. So I got long, I can't remember, I think 40,000 shares maybe to open up my position, but I did sell partial gains here for, where's my, what am I looking at? Pal. So I locked in 450 bucks. I got out of this here for a partial position, then I actually added back more here into PAL in the close. I added another 15,000 shares in the close at 44 cents as we were breaking out here again. Looking like we're going to see a potential F3 breakout in the close. We are gapping open into, as you can see here, we did have this F3. I was looking back at this right here. I was like, that's not an F3 pattern. Then I realized I was not looking at the full chart, but as you can see here, this was a beautiful looking F3 breakout here. Basically, an F3 is a triangle breakout pattern on the intraday scale that happens within the last 2 hours of the trading session. So it basically indicates a potential gap going forward into tomorrow, and just, you know, indicates momentum. There's buying pressure into the close, which should lead to buying pressure into the open. So this is, you know, the best case scenario for any stock that you're buying into is to see this kind of breakout pattern into the last 2 hours of the session, where the closing sentiment of this stock is buy, 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 which usually means, you know, it doesn't mean it every time, obviously, nothing's perfect, but it indicates that there's still continued buying pressure going into tomorrow, and we could see a continued rally on this revival pattern. So that would be absolutely awesome if we could get into the 50-cent range, potentially even, you know, come back up and retest the 50-day moving average. Would be a nice little short-term profit target on PAL. So still on 40,000 shares here of PAL into the close. So pretty confident in this stock right now, but it is a penny stock. Anything can happen. It's always risky. REE is another one. This was also off the watch list last night. This is in a revival pattern. We have traded this thing several times. Huge volume in today, so that's definitely a big indication. I actually sold this stock right on the close. We got some selling pressure right in here, and I stopped at about 179. So I made 220 bucks, $229 actually. So really jack shit. I could care less. Unfortunately, this trade didn't work out as I wanted to, but looking at this yesterday, this was actually a stock off the watch list. So, you know, that's another good thing is you guys got to be looking at the watch list. You know, a lot of the stocks off the watch list today were actual buys that we traded today. PAL was a watch list play. MVIS was a watch list play. DARA was a watch list play. INO was a watch list play. MVIS, they're all watch list plays. You got to be watching the watch list plays because that's where a majority of my trades come from. So looking at here on REE, we have this nice entry or a lead-in trend that's very, very bearish. We got this nice, you know, not the most beautiful looking triangle. It's pretty choppy with, you know, not the clearest neckline of a breakout, but it is in this breakout. Mineral stocks and rare earth plays have been hot. So I definitely wanted to be part of this if this started breaking out this morning. So I did actually buy this morning based off the red to green trigger that happened here. So as you can see, the stock kind of came down here this morning and then bursted through that red to green market about 171. I got long 173. I took partial profits. I believe upwards of one. Can't remember. I'm looking back at my speed trader here. At 185. So I took partial profits here at 185 on that, just, you know, taking advantage of that quick spike that we saw there. Locked in about $500 gain, but then I actually was going back in long here at 186, right about here. I added another 6,000 shares, hoping that we were going to see an F3. Unfortunately, we did not start seeing an F3, and this stock started selling off into the close from 186 all the way down to 179. Once we broke down 180, I got a little nervous and panicked a bit. I sold my entire position, and it's actually getting a few ticks in the after hours up to 185. So, daily chart's still looking good. I panicked a little bit once it started selling off into the close and wasn't getting that F3 that I was trying to get a piece of. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I could potentially re-enter this. Unfortunately, it just did not work out.